Hi, welcome. I'm Tim Owens,
And I'm Jennifer Owens.
and we're the Owens Group, and welcome to Conversations with Counselors. So we wanted to talk a little bit today about the topic around father hunger. Really interesting topic, and wanted just to kind of give you some experiences that we've had where our own fathers are concerned, and then with what we've seen in clients that we've worked with around father hunger. So maybe we should, well, first of all, let me tell you, it's a beautiful day in sunny Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we're actually just kind of outside. We thought we'd try this outside today. So there may be noises and things that you hear or things happening. Just please disregard. In any case, just wanted to start out by defining a little bit about what father hunger is, and from my perspective, father hunger is the concept that sort of speaks to the fact that as human beings, obviously we all have fathers or biological fathers, and I really believe that there is this imprint, this DNA that we all have to want to know our fathers, our mothers especially, but our fathers as well, and to on some level understand who they are and the impact that they've had on our lives just by participating in our birth process. I've worked with a number of clients with who were adopted, who for whatever reason didn't know their father, and there's always this desire on some level to the very least know him, understand who he is, and the impact that he's had on their lives
And their identity.
and their identity is part of our identity. So the term is father hunger, because it's like a drive, kind of like hunger is. Even if I deny it, even if I say, I'm not interested in knowing that person, or I'm angry at that person and therefore I don't really need them in my life, there's always this drive, this desire to know
And
you,
a need.
and a need to know your father.
Yeah.
It's sometimes very difficult to deal with. So wanted to talk a little bit about that. Jen, if you don't mind, would you talk a little bit about your relationship with your dad growing up, and I'll share a little bit about mine.
Sure. Well, real quick, when I was 11 years old, my dad became sober. He was an alcoholic for the first 11 years of my life. So there was a big void. There was a lot of need for my dad where he had not been present. And at the age of 11, he went into rehab, and our whole lives changed, my whole family. My dad and I today are sometimes even closer to me and my mom. And it's hard to believe because Dad just totally did a 360. And there was a lot of commitment towards his health and belief in his family. And he really strove to make that different. And so, before he got well, though, I went through some things in my teenage life that involved a lack of identity and not being very uncertain about men and trust, and making not so good decisions, about some of the men in my life.
Sure.
Sometimes looking for a father figure versus a male that was my counterpart and could respect and help me through things in life.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Your dad has how long in sobriety?
40 years.
40 years.
Of
That's
sobriety, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, he did.
Tremendous guy. So my dad was an amazing father. As a matter of fact, he just passed away not too long ago, a few months ago, and still grieving about that on some level. But he grew up without a father in his life, without his father in his life. And as a matter of fact, I met his father when he met his father. And he was probably in his 40s. But what's interesting about that is that I think because he had that experience of growing up without a father, he worked hard to be the father that he never had to my brother and I. So amazing guy, and worked really hard. He was not an alcoholic. He was a workaholic, and so he worked really hard and instilled a really strong work ethic in my brother and I, and so really, really, really grateful for that.
I think one of the things growing up for me and becoming a young lady and a young woman was not always realizing the need that I have for the affirmation of the Father. My dad wasn't very verbal when it came to affirming and putting his arms around you in love. But there was one particular time in my life where I broke up with a boyfriend that I really, really liked. Wasn't you. And I boo-hooed. I was devastated.
Yeah.
And the first time ever in my life, I must have been 19-ish, my dad came over to me, put his arms around me, and told me it was going to be all right.
Wow.
And that literally shifted my trajectory. It just made sense to me that everything about that relationship, and so his involvement and his, he was just like, she's devastated, like, why? And he just began to talk to me, to make it sensible for me, tangible. And I think sometimes that's what fathers do. The mom does the nurturing and she loves you and does all those sweet things for you, but there's some very practical things sometimes. Even today, I'll turn to my dad for, and Tim will too, because he's kind of taking him on as his dad. But we go to him when we have those hard decisions. We want his opinion, and it's just a blessing for him to still be here, in his 80s.
Absolutely. So from a male perspective, in terms of how I dealt with my father, one of the challenges I had was trying to figure out how to live up to that example. One of the things he used to say to me is that if the son doesn't turn out better than the father, then they've both failed. And so that put a lot of pressure on me to really work to be my best self.
And you try hard.
And I worked hard at that. But sometimes it became unhealthy in that I tried to be what I thought he wanted me to be, per se, and to live up to a standard that really on some level was really pretty unrealistic. So what
about the people who didn't have those fathers in their lives, and what do they do when they don't have those role models, even as an adult? Who are the people they should be seeking out, or the kind of affirmation, and where do they get that from?
Wow, great question. I think that even if I don't have a father per se, okay, well let me start here. What's true is that over time we tend to have many fathers. Father is a job description. It's not just a role. I mean, it's not just a title. It's a job description. So there are many people who fulfill the job description of father in my life, who are not biologically related to me necessarily. Does that make sense? So over time, I expect that I'll have many fathers, and I have had many fathers. Sometimes, and what's interesting is that as my father grew older and became more sickly, I actually ended up having to be more like the father in the relationship. So I got the opportunity to father my father. Really the issue is not so much about biology. It's more about role and job description.
Of guidance, of instruction, of mentorship. Who do you look up to that really impresses upon your heart and has a lot of wisdom and knowledge? Sometimes that just secures you in that decision making, and making you strong again, encouraging you,
empowering you.
Yeah, and empowering you. Those are the people. You can even create that inner circle. Our pastor's talking right now about an inner circle, and having those people around you who help you to be strong.
Sure.
And creating that inner circle, being around those kind of people, and recognizing who they are to strengthen you, and setting those circumstances up so that you can have that little inner circle is very important.
Sure. And let me just say this: it may not be necessarily that the father figure in your life is a male. It's not necessarily gender specific.
Yeah.
It's about the role that they play.
Okay.
So I'd encourage you to seek out fathers and father figures in your life, and find ways to connect with, build relationship with, so that you ultimately are able to manage that father hunger, that need, that desire for fatherly relationship.
Okay.
All right,
Have a good
thanks.
day.
Take care.